I do not forget to be calling my nurturers, those people who have bad credit or aren't quite ready or need a little motivation. I make sure to call them at least once a month.
Welcome to the Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the local real estate market. Join us as we chat with industry experts, uncovering tips, trends, and strategies to help you navigate Maryland's real estate landscape. Get ready to elevate your real estate game. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Maryland Real Estate Influencers Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Healy. And today we have a special guest with us, Jennifer Gordon. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for agreeing to be on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Absolutely. So please tell our listeners a little bit about you and the brokerage that you work for.
Okay, so I'm originally from Long Island, New York, born and raised. Went to school upstate New York and moved I went to school for hotel restaurant management and then ventured into business and then eventually got my master's in higher education, which is working with college students, right? And then moved down here, worked in the higher ed field, Towson University, Notre Dame of Maryland. I worked online for a university, Hopkins, and had been very interested in real estate when I was working online. So started real estate back then. But anyhow, I am with the Teal Clise Group of eXp Realty.
That is fabulous. I am actually doing a training with Krista Mayshore on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. And she was a realtor with eXp Realty, and now she's a trainer. And she is a higher education teacher as well, or professor.
Okay.
So I think that there's something about that profession that brings it out in people, just educating and as well as setting up the systems involved and that are required for success. So
Right.
That's something else as well. I love hearing that. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your family?
Sure. I'm married, almost 25 years
Well,
this coming January. I have a son. Yep. We've been married a while. I have a son who's 24, a daughter who's 20, and a younger daughter who is 17. She'll be 18 this December. So we're almost empty nesters.
That's so exciting. It is such an exciting time.
It is.
Yeah. That is wonderful. So, what made you join a team? If you could tell me a little bit about that, because I know that there's agents that enjoy being on a team and there's agents that say, oh, I can do it on my own. What was compelling for you to join a team?
So this is a little bit of a story in that I did start real estate back in 2011, 2012. I got licensed and I really didn't know a whole lot back then and joined Long and Foster as an individual agent. And, you know, I was also working full time as well. And my children were young at the time. So I didn't really know what I was doing in regards to what was expected. I didn't even know what lead gen was, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
I just kind of was just doing whatever, just trying to think I knew what I was doing, being a real estate agent, selling houses and showing houses. That's what I thought it was about. And I know now that it's a much more than that, obviously. That all being said, I knew when I decided to get back into real estate that one thing I wanted was support, training, and to be involved with a team. I wanted to be around a common group of people who were trying to do the same thing. And I found that to be really helpful to my success.
I can understand that. I can understand that. And what led you to Teal's team, if I may ask?
I had heard really great stuff about Teal through a friend of mine before I even joined before I even got back to real estate. I
Wow,
had I
wonderful.
had heard good things about her. Yep. And but I didn't initially join her team. I joined another team, and that team leader was good in that she taught me some things like speed to the lead and that sort of thing, but I felt like I needed some more. And then and I had another team after that. And she also was pretty good, but I would say more she taught me script training and um how to use a dialer. We really didn't get that far, but I knew something might be missing. It was like she was more looking for more people to assist her rather than growing me. And I still was very attracted to getting on Teal's team, and a fellow colleague of mine that I had been in productivity coaching with was on her team. And I was like, tell me more about that team. I want to be involved with that team. And that's when the conversation started and I got on Teal's team. And
I love that. I've met
yeah, so it
several of
took,
your player or your team
mhm,
members of your team because y'all do work with my branch manager, Andrew Wagner.
yeah,
And so I've been introduced to your team, and your team's very successful. All of you in your own, much less Teal in her own. Um,
mhm,
Everybody is just brings a different level of success onto that team. And that being said, we're recording this in the middle of November, about November 10th. It is Flannel Friday, as we all have our flannels on, you and I, and we are ready
yep.
to. And what I know about your production numbers is, first of all, Maryland Realtors says that the state of Maryland is down 22% year over year.
Mhm,
That's their number, not mine.
mhm,
From 2022 to 2023. However, you are 22 transactions and just shy of $8 million in production, which is phenomenal in its own right, not to mention in a down market. And so I would like to know, what have you done in the last 12 months differently than you have in the past to make those numbers? Because I've talked to a lot of realtors, and in my day, I'm finding that there are a good amount that are not doing 22 transactions a year. So I'd like to know what you're doing to dig in during this time.
Um, I would say that I've been really sticking to systems and daily systems each day,
I love
and
that.
lead generation.
I love it.
Making
So let's dig right into that. So talk to me about your daily success plan, because I am very heavy into my daily success plan. And
Mhm.
on this podcast, I love to ask all the agents, especially because I'm only interviewing the ones in the top 5%. Like, what is your daily success plan? What does it look like? So, whatever you're willing to share and open to sharing, please do.
Sure. So I wake up in the morning. I'm not a 5:30 girl like you, or I heard you speak about being a 5:30 girl. I'm not a 5:30. I try to be a 5:30 girl, but it's very difficult. Although I've tried to incorporate weights in, like I have my exercise. So
Oh, that's so
I've tried to
beautiful.
incorporate some more weight. So 3 days a week, I try to get to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, begrudgingly, to get that done and over with. And but most mornings I'm waking up around 7. I I try to get a 2 mile walk, and that's my time either to listen to nature or listen to a podcast or something that inspires me each
Mm-hmm.
morning. And then after that, I'm running in, maybe taking my 17-year-old to school. Not always. It's like we're really on the tail end. She has friends that take her. But I'm running in, taking a shower, grabbing my coffee, eating my breakfast, and then we all log in on Zoom every morning at 9 o'clock.
Ah,
And at 9 o'clock, we have like our, like, sort of like a check-in. We might have deal review, we have a motivation, We might be doing training at 9 o'clock, and that lasts about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Mm.
And then it's at that time we're hitting the phones. And we might be calling new leads. We might be calling our nurtures, our SOI, sphere of influence. And I'm pretty dedicated to doing that Monday through Friday, every day. Now, if I
Oh,
get new leads over the weekend, I'm obviously going to call them over the weekend and have conversations. But every day from pretty much 10 to maybe 1 o'clock sometimes, I'm on the phones making calls because
mm.
I'm trying to hit my goals that were set a year ago.
I love that.
After
That is
that,
great.
thanks. And after that, then and during that time, I'm obviously trying to hit a goal of setting appointments and um have my appointments in the afternoon or my closings in the afternoon. And that's one thing, like I've always stuck to that schedule. Like even if a client says, well, can I go see a house at say 10 o'clock? I'm like, nope, sorry, I have meetings at that time. Or can we set up an inspection at during that my lead gen time? Nope, I can't do that at that time. So our transaction coordinator and our admin staff knows don't schedule anything for Jen unless it's after 1 o'clock.
There you go.
Unless I'm getting my arm twisted,
Right.
like it really has to be done, I'll do it. But overall, I really try to stick to that schedule because I feel like that's made my success. And then another thing is like, because I was talking to a client of mine today, they moved down to Georgia, and I was thinking about this podcast. And another thing is, I call my nurturers. I do not forget to be calling my nurturers, those people who have bad credit or aren't quite ready or need a little motivation. I make sure to call them at least once a month so
Mm.
that I can get them buying. And that's what happened this past year. A lot of those people that I was nurturing ended up buying this year, this
Oh,
this these past couple of months.
very good.
Hmm.
Very good. That's so wonderful. I'm finding that a lot. I'm finding that a lot of people, and I think it's due to inflation. I really do. I'm finding more people than on average in the past have credit dings,
A lot.
have no money in savings,
Mhm.
and just, okay, I want to buy a house. I'm not prepared, but I'm ready. Like
Mhm.
they don't know what goes into it. So I find that that's a large group of people nowadays, more
Mhm.
than I feel as though it's been in the past.
Right.
And I think that is my group too, is that they're growing and growing because I think it's everywhere. It's everybody. It's in all different aspects of uh, groups, all demographics too, across the board.
Mhm.
So I'm with you, and I'm following up with mine too. So I love that you're doing that. I
Mhm.
really do.
Yeah, because I feel like those that get ignored, like the couple that's down in Georgia,
Mhm.
um, that's a shame on that agent. She only checked, I sent them to her. They just had a
Mm,
couple things they needed to fix, and they just needed a little bit of hand holding, but
mhm.
she's only reached out to them once. She kind of like discounted them, set them up on an e-alert, and moved on. And I'm like, no, you need to be talking to these people.
That's it. You are so right. You are so right. So, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges right now for buyers in this market?
Well, we all know there's not a lot of inventory.
Hmm.
The interest rates crept up, even though they went down a little bit this week-ish. They're still high. Prices have gone up,
Hmm.
and I think that's the biggest issues. And then you have like my generation and an older generation, Gen X's, which is my generation. I'll claim Gen
I do.
X. I figured. And then you have the boomers, and then we're still in our houses
Yeah.
with our low interest rates. And why would I sell my house if I want to downsize, right? But I'm going to go downsize to something smaller and pay more for it. that's not attractive to us.
Right.
So that's in my opinion affecting the inventory. And then you have a large generation of millennials, not our kids, Jennifer, like
No, the
the
Gen Zers.
the ones that are millennials, they
Right.
are like that's a huge population,
Yes,
and
it is.
they haven't had a chance to I mean, there's lots of them that have, but there's
Mhm.
a lots of them that are still waiting to get in, and they can't.
Yes. Now, can I ask you in the reverse is what do you think the biggest challenge is? Actually, you just answered that. I was going to say for sellers, but you had mentioned that too, is that they have the lower interest rates, they have their home, they don't want it to get something higher. Um, have you found that communicating with a lot of the sellers and finding out, like, I know that they have a 2 and a 3 and a 4% interest rate, and those are very sexy interest rates.
They are.
But have you also spoke with them about the amount of debt that they've acquired and the amount of, because what the statistics show is like 90, I think it was like a dag on it, 74% of people in their homes have $96,000 in consumer debt, meaning automobiles,
Hmm.
credit cards, just consumer debt. And they're running out of savings as well, due to inflation, due to what employment is doing at this time. Are you having a lot of those conversations at this time? I'm wondering when
I have
people are calling.
I haven't yet. Mainly so I have a couple sellers that are coming up, and the conversations that I'm having with them more so is pricing their houses right,
Yeah.
really, and not thinking that a buyer is just going to buy any old thing,
Mhm.
and that, days on the market is the house killer. So that's more or less that. So I hadn't heard that. So that's the first time I'm hearing what you're saying.
Ooh, I'll
So
send
that's
you.
good. That's good to know. I would love more
Yeah,
information on
you know
that.
what I'm going to do? I'm going to write this down, and when we get off the podcast here, I will send you the podcast that I listen to that has all the statistics, and it's actually from Black Knight. It's actually from the actual agencies that collect all the monthly payments, and they can see where everything's coming from. So it's very data driven. It's not opinion; it's factual, if
Hmm,
that makes sense. So I'll send that to you.
hmm.
Is that
Well,
cool?
I think that's a good tool to have in my tool case.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. So, Jen, what would you say is good tips to provide home buyers in this crazy market that we're in November of 2023?
Um, I think that learning from a real estate professional the process. There's a
Mm,
lot of misinformation out there for buyers, especially first-time buyers, and they don't understand the process. And what we do as a team, and what I do every time with a buyer is I sit down with them and I go through the entire process. I 9 times out of 10 try to get them connected with Andrew and his team to get them pre-approved. And if they're not ready to if they can't get pre-approved, I still go over the process and like the time span it may take us to get there. But that's really the most important thing, understanding what their buying power is, how much money they need to save, if they can qualify for a grant like the Maryland Mortgage Program, and how all that looks and what they can afford monthly. That's so
mhm.
important.
Yeah, and Andrew, he is he's something else.
He really is.
I've never met anybody like him in my career that off the top of his head can just maneuver numbers and maneuver, okay, well, if we just do this, and this, it'll work out and just do that. And but it's all from memory. And I
Mhm.
don't know if it's just because I'm older. And I'm like,
No, I think he's got I think honestly, no, I don't think it has anything to do with you being older. I think that Andrew has a gift, and I
He
love to
is.
work and partner with him because, and I understand where he's going. Like, I don't understand the money side, but
Right.
like, whenever we're working together on a deal, like, we'll talk and brainstorm, especially when it's a more difficult,
Mm-hmm.
like, offer situation, like a multiple offer situation.
Yes.
We will sit, brainstorm, and see what we can do with that specific client. And I'll be real, 9 times out of 10, we have won our offers. And I owe it to him too, really. And I'm
Wow.
not just saying that.
Now that's saying something else, that you're winning 9 out of 10 of your offers, and
Mhm.
you're giving the credit to the loan officer that you've decided to partner with, because you two are structuring things in a way that makes sense. And I know that he's doing a crazy amount of business. I would love to have him on the podcast if he is open to it someday. He's very shy. He's very humble.
Which is
Um,
totally fine. Like, I just look at him like he's a partner. He's
yeah.
my partner. And I'm like, okay, Andrew, let's crunch it. Let's do this together. Show me what to do. What do you think? And we just work it, and it works. I feel like it's magical. Like, I feel like he can be a miracle at
He
times.
really can. He's very gifted. He is
Yeah.
extremely gifted. I'm so shocked. So can I ask? You had mentioned that home sellers don't know the process. What are you seeing in how the incorrect information that a lot of the home buyers have or are receiving at this time? And are they receiving it
Buyers,
from the media? Are they receiving it from the way things used to be done? Are they receiving it from people that have been a
uh,
bit jaded in the industry?
okay, I got you, what you're saying. Okay. The
Yes.
media is not our friend.
No.
Google is not our friend either.
No.
And then I would say people who bought 10, 15 years, 20 years ago are not our friend to the new buyers either. They don't know
Yeah.
everybody's always looking. I want to find a diamond in a rough, or I want to find a foreclosure, or I want to, and I'm like, those don't really exist right now.
Yes.
Okay. There is no diamond in a rough. You're going to still pay for a diamond in a rough,
Mm-hmm.
so there's that misinformation out there. I was recently working with a client, and we were like literally hitting our heads against the wall. We found a really nice place for her and her daughter, who had purchased 15, 20 years ago, like a foreclosure
Mm-hmm.
for 100, like low 100s, and basically lived in it and flipped it, and then sold it for like 200,000. I'm just throwing numbers out
Sure.
there, but did very well on it. She thought like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be able to find something like that. And I'm like, no. And then her daughter was telling her things like, oh no, don't buy a 2-bedroom place because you can't resell that. And I'm like, I need you to stop listening to your daughter. I
Right.
know that you love her, but understand that I'm in this field. I'm in the trenches every single day. I know what's happening out here, and I need them to know that I've got their best interest at heart. I'm not just trying to sell them something. I understand what's going on out here, and this isn't going to change for the next, in my opinion,
Right.
10, 15 years,
Yeah. I'm with
20
you.
years. It's not going to change.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people also that were in the market and maybe had been affected by the bubble in between 2008 and 2010, they may be a bit jaded because what
Yes,
they had to endure during that time, but it unfortunately may not have anything to do with what's going on today. And
it's so
so
different.
not for them to have that conversation and to excuse somebody else's opinion or motivation because of what happened back then.
Mhm.
But I find equally as much as the news is incorrect or things that we find online is incorrect, that by speaking to people that are jaded for because of whatever they had endured, it'll change somebody's way of thinking rather than just saying, well, this was my experience.
but it doesn't have to be, it may not be so now. That may have changed. Those guidelines may have changed.
Agree.
Compliance may have changed. What you allow in a home inspection may change. All these things may change over the last, it's got, what's that 15 years since the bubble, or 14 years since
Right.
the bubble. A lot has changed. So I
Mhm.
think that that's really important. I think that's very valuable that you said.
Mhm.
So I'd like to take that same question and ask you, when it comes to sellers, what are the best tips that you can provide to a seller in this market?
For
Besides,
sellers, I would say listen to your real estate professional when they tell you how to price your home.
girl, can I
Just
tell you?
listen. Like, I want to listen, if you have a $300,000 house and I think it's worth $300,000 or whatever,
Mhm.
and you think it's worth 350, believe me, I would want to sell it for 350
Right.
because it means more money for me too. I'm not trying to just sell your house. I want the most dollar for your house. And most real estate agents do. I don't understand why some sellers are fearful of what real estate agents, or don't trust what agents are trying to tell them. I don't understand that.
Can I share with you a story? It will blow
Mhm.
your mind. So my daughter's been looking for 2 years for a home. No joke. She
2 years.
goes on 2 years, 2 years. I think they've written 6 or 7 contracts and been outbid.
Wow.
Yeah. And she goes and looks at this house. It's written on the listing as a 3-bedroom. She gets there. It's a Cape Cod, 2 bedrooms on the main floor. In the attic is unfinished. Now it does have electric, and it does have um, the walls, not drywall, but the wood. I'm sorry.
Like I know what you're talking about, like the
So the sticks that
panels basically.
yeah, they have the walls without the drywall in it, and no
Got it.
the seller swears that it's a 3-bedroom home. You don't have a bedroom up there. You have no walls. You have no insulation. You have no electricity. You have no heat. You have no air. You have no closet. But I appreciate that it was listed as a 3-bedroom, because as people are walking through there, they're walking right back out because they wanted a 3-bedroom, and it's only a 2-bedroom house.
Right.
So she was able to look at this and say, nah, it's not going to appraise for that. And they pulled up the comps and said, this is what it'll appraise for. Oh, no, it's a 3-bedroom. And she said, okay, you can give me $10,000 back in closing credit to finish the upstairs because it's a 3-bedroom.
Right.
My daughter does contracts for a living.
Mhm.
She made that deal.
Oh, she did.
It was accepted.
Nice.
So she's getting the money to do that, to insulate and do all that. And she has to have a split put up there because there's no heat up there. There's no air up there.
Right.
Which then it needs another box up, electrical panel. So it
Right.
needs a little bit of work done to make it a habitable 3-bedroom. And she actually thinks that she can knock 4 out of it.
Okay.
But lucky her that the seller didn't, and I don't know if he didn't listen to the agent. I don't know if the agent just allowed
He probably
him.
didn't.
I don't want to blame the seller and or the agent, but together and I'm thinking it's the seller having met them and they're about to retire, because he's like, oh, it's a 3-bedroom. It's a 3-bedroom. We're all looking and going, the appraiser's not going to
It's
see it
not
as a
a
3-bedroom.
3-bedroom.
And if he doesn't see it, it doesn't matter what you think.
Right.
But my daughter was able to get a great deal
Good.
because of how it was written up in the multiple list, and
Yeah.
how people just walked out of it because of it only technically being a 2-bedroom, and it's just her and her boyfriend moving in. So it was, again, worked out for them in the long run. But
Yeah.
like you said, people that aren't listening to the professionals and believe
Right.
that they know best. And
Right.
it doesn't matter what they know. It only matters really what the appraiser will say
Exactly.
about that.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. And so many people don't get that aspect of it.
they don't. And like, I was at my friend's house. I'm going to be listing her house in a couple of months. It's a nice home. It's big,
Mhm.
but things like the roof hasn't been done. There, it's a 22-year-old roof,
Yeah.
and it's the original windows.
Oh, okay.
And and showing them in comparison to the comps where they lie, they just sometimes, well, look how big this house is, and this is what this, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what happens.
Yeah,
So,
I get that. I get that. Some people, they don't get it, and they have something in their head. And
mhm,
not only that, but a lot of, especially the sellers, they forget that we're not in the same market we were 2 years ago. The market
we're
has
not,
moved from that time frame. The rates have
right.
moved. The values are still going up, but not at the same increase that it was. It makes a big difference. All of it
It
adding
really
together
does.
changes everything. That is so true. That is so true. Are you seeing homes staying on the market longer now? Because you're out in Howard County, correct?
I'm in the Baltimore metro area,
Okay.
and again, I'll go back to it as long as it's priced right,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the areas that I'm selling in, it's gonna sell and
Yes.
fast. I live in Towson, so
Oh, okay.
things sell pretty fast here as long
You're
as
from
you're
my side
priced
of
right.
town. Okay, gotcha. I'm in
Okay.
Arundel County now, but I grew up in Perry Hall, and my kids
Okay.
are from Towson.
Okay.
So, very. Okay, so I didn't realize that you're up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll hit you up when I'm up back in my my stomping grounds, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be great.
So I have one of my favorite questions to ask people is, what is your real estate superpower? And do you think you have one?
Well, you mentioned that your daughter, did you say she lost out at seven contracts, right?
Yes,
So I think that one of my superpowers is I'm a really good negotiator. I didn't realize I had that, but I'm good at it.
that's
I
fabulous.
am because I know um how to talk to the right people, Andrew. And I really think about it and I talk to my clients. I set up expectations early on about making deals and what this market is looking like and what sellers want, what buyers want, and that whole thing. And we talk about like once in a while, we might have to bring out the waiving, unfortunately, home inspections. And this is what we'll do in that situation. Or, if I notice that they have extra money to do an appraisal gap, we'll do an appraisal gap. Or um, I'm always, I just feel like so I set up that expectation ahead of time so they know.
Hmm.
And then also, I really try to establish a good rapport with the listing agents
Mm,
too. Not like brown nosing them or anything, but really finding out what their seller is looking for and listening to what they have to say. Because not all of them are looking for the highest priced um buyer. They might be looking for that flexibility in regards to the move date and things like that.
sure.
But as long as they have a strong buyer. Um, so all of that matters. And when I'm thinking about putting that offer together, those are the things that I'm putting together. If it's just
Mhm.
a straightforward offer where I know there's no competition, it's okay, let's offer this. Let's ask for all the inspections you want. We don't need to ask for, whatever it is. Like we don't need to overdo anything or underdo anything. Like we can go straight forward. But when it's multiple offers, I think I'm pretty good at that.
That's excellent. Now, do you have your loan officer contact the listing agent on every
I
transaction?
do.
See,
I
I love
do.
that. I think that's something that a lot of people are missing out on too,
Mhm.
is not waiting for that listing agent to call the loan officer if they like the
Yeah.
contract, having the being the aggressor and having the loan
Yep.
officer contact that listing agent and say, let me tell you a few things
Yep.
that you may want to know about going forward. And this is the pros, this is the cons, this is where we
Yep.
at, this is how quickly we can get it done. This is in an ideal world, you know, minus the appraiser and title that we can't
Yep.
control. This is how quickly we can get our part completed. And
Yep.
then we have to add the appraisal and add the title onto that in case they have challenges. But I think that's so valuable. And I think so many
It is.
people are missing out on that.
It is.
I
And I'm
love that you do.
surprised at how many people don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
So
I'm with you there. I'm totally.
it's interesting.
Yes. So I wanted to ask, what is the one thing that you are most proud of in your career? If you can whittle it down to one, if it's possible.
So I was thinking about that also, and it really hit me back in February. I had these clients, they were in our age group, and they had never owned a home. They had rented all these years, had a daughter. Um, you know, on the outside you would never know, like, they didn't own a home, right? I mean, nobody looks like that, but um they had fancy things and all that stuff, but they never owned a home, so they weren't wealthy, right? They might have good jobs, but they're not, at the end of the day, in my opinion, if you don't own a home, you're not going to have that equity and all that stuff. So anyhow, they didn't realize that they could buy, and actually there's two clients, but February was when I realized it. I really liked being a part of changing that direction of their lives and their daughter's life for the future, and providing generational wealth to that family moving forward. And that was a marginalized group. And I really enjoy being a change maker and helping in that area of wealth. And there are folks that haven't had that opportunity to do so. And I feel like I'm contributing in that world of being able to do that and make a difference.
That is wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate that. I can recall doing financing for a client of mine that rented the home for 30 years. And then she bought the home that she rented for 30 years. And she was forever grateful to me for making it happen. She didn't know that it could happen. I was referred to her by a family member, no agents involved, just helped her do financing. But the same thing that you just said, had no idea that she could be able to purchase something. And I took that away. I was profoundly moved by her, that she had rented for 30 years. It could have been paid off.
I know. And that's the thing.
I felt it was more emotional, that I kind of focused on, sadly, what she lost out on. I was extremely happy that I was able to help her and get her into the house. We did a 15-year term. I think she was like 50 by the time she bought it. Yes, because she moved in there because she moved in with her mother Oh, it was just crazy. And it's just so wonderful to see that, but it was mixed for me, because I was so sad that she hadn't done it, and so happy that it was changing her life at that time.
So agree. And it's like, I just worked with this other couple. They actually moved into my neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
And they were referral from the clients in February. And same thing. They were renting for 10 years in the same place. They were having trouble with the landlord. And I think the landlord was being kind of discriminatory towards them.
Ooh.
And they had to find another place to live. They were having troubles finding another place to live because they had a family. And the friend sent them to me. And I sent them to Andrew. They immediately qualified for almost $500,000.
Wow.
And we were able to buy them a home for $475,000.
Wow. Isn't that something?
And they are so happy. Like, they live a couple houses down from me now. I'm like, don't be neighbors from hell. But because that's my first clients that have been really close to me. But
I love
but
that. Do you
I'm so happy for them.
come into the neighborhood? you have a good
What's
margarita machine?
yeah, right? I don't have a margarita machine, but I can make a good margarita.
There you go. There you go. That is so that is so very important. Thank you. And now I know we've gone over a lot of questions today. Are there anything that you would like to share with the community that we haven't, that any question I should have asked you that I haven't, that you think that the community should know about you or your team?
My goodness. Oh.
I like to put Tuesday in there every now and
I
then.
think about my team. Teal, Tanya, Histina, Katie, Mia, myself, Ray, Paula. Well, her name is Paul. Everybody calls her Paul. And there's some others. We we're really committed to helping people and helping people, purchase and sell homes. We're not your greasy car salesman, as I always say. I learned that in productivity coaching years ago that that real estate agents are looked at like that. We're not. We actually care, and we're actually trying to make a difference in people's lives. We're not just trying to sell. Of course, we want to make money too, but our team is very passionate about making a difference in this world. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you. So if somebody is interested in speaking more about you to find out more about your team or how your team operates and the ins and outs of your team, how can somebody reach out to you to find out more information?
They can call me or email me, whatever works.
Okay. Would you like to share that information?
Sure. My email address is Jennifer at Teal, Teal, Clise, CLISE.com, or they can call me at 410-456-0497.
Thank you so much for being an open book. I thank you so much for taking off your humble hat and just sharing with us your success over the last several years, especially in the last 12 months as it's been a little challenging in our industry. And I love to see that you are having success and that your entire team is. And I keep on hearing wonderful things from Andrew about your team. And so thank you so much for coming on here and sharing with us. And to the listeners, feel free to reach out to Jennifer herself as with the phone number and email address that she provided. And I'm always going to ask two things of you. One is, please, when you listen to this, forward this podcast to two of your real estate friends that would find this information valuable for their business. And two, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on or watching us on, please take a moment to leave us a review. That's how we extend our database here. This is how we're getting to more and more realtors. And of course, if you are a realtor and you're in the top 5% of realtors in the state of Maryland, I would love to take a moment and interview you if you are open. Thank you, Jennifer, for coming on here and being a part of this today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Absolutely. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
Thank you for joining the Maryland Real Estate Influencers podcast. We'd like to ask you two favors. Number one, forward this podcast to 3 of your favorite realtor friends. They'll thank you for it, and I'll thank you for it too. Number 2, we'd love reviews. It helps get the word out.